History is a corridor of whispers. Footsteps fade, evidence breaks, and questions echo louder than answers. Tonight, we open the files they prefer to keep closed. Assassinations wrapped in motive, plots disguised as policy, disappearances that refuse to stay buried, and scandals that shape the world we live in. This is not about proving every theory. It's about following the trail wherever it leads, from palaces and parliaments to safe houses and sealed archives. As you listen, ask yourself, who gained, who vanished, and who is afraid of the truth? If mysteries keep you curious, you're in the right place. Tap like to support the investigation, subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share this with someone who loves a good puzzle. In the comments, tell us where you're watching from and which unsolved mystery you want unboxed next. Ready? Let's turn the page and start with the first question mark. The assassination of Julius Caesar on the Ides of March, 44 BCE. The Roman Senate chamber became the stage for one of history's most infamous assassinations. Julius Caesar, hailed as both a reformer and a potential tyrant, entered unaware of the conspiracy awaiting him. Senators, once his allies, drew their blades, striking him 23 times beneath the shadow of Pompey's statue. The act was meant to restore the Republic. Instead, it ignited civil wars, raising the question: was Caesar's death truly liberation, or the dawn of an empire cloaked in blood? The Catalan conspiracy in 63 BCE, whispers of treason echoed through the Roman Republic. Lucius Sergius Catilina, an ambitious senator burdened with debt, was accused of plotting a violent overthrow of the state. Ancient accounts describe secret gatherings, promises of canceled debts, and plans to ignite rebellion across Italy. Cicero, then consul, exposed the plot in his famed orations, forcing Catiline to flee. Yet historians still debate, was Catiline truly a traitor, or a scapegoat sacrificed to preserve Rome's fragile order? The Puzzi conspiracy in April 1478, the grandeur of Florence's cathedral masked a deadly plot. The powerful Puzzi family, aided by allies within and beyond the city, conspired to strike against the Medici brothers during High Massachusetts. Lorenzo survived with wounds, but his brother Giuliano fell beneath the daggers of assassins. The failed coup unleashed brutal reprisals, reshaping Florence's politics and deepening the Medici's grip on power. Yet the question endures, was this merely a family feud, or part of a larger struggle to control Renaissance Italy? The gunpowder plot in the dim vaults beneath the English Parliament. Barrels of gunpowder lay hidden, awaiting a spark that never came. In 1605, Robert Catesby and his circle of Catholic conspirators sought to destroy King James I and his government in one explosive stroke. Guy Fawkes, found guarding the cache, became the infamous face of the failed uprising. The discovery saved the monarchy, but questions linger. Was this truly a foiled rebellion, or a carefully staged trap to tighten royal power? The Knights Templar suppression on a dawn in October 1307. The once revered Knights Templar were seized across France under orders from King Philip IV. Accused of heresy, blasphemy, and secret rites, these warrior monks who had guarded pilgrims and amassed immense wealth now faced torture and execution. Their order was dissolved, their treasures vanished, and their legacy shrouded in secrecy. Were the charges born of truth, or crafted to erase a powerful rival, leaving behind centuries of speculation about the hidden fate of the Templars? The murder of Christopher Marlowe in May 1593. The brilliant playwright Christopher Marlowe met a violent end in a modest London tavern. Official records claim a quarrel over a bill ended with a fatal stab above his eye. Yet Marlowe was more than a writer. He was entangled in espionage, heresy charges, and dangerous political circles. Some suggest his death was no accident but a silencing ordered from above. Was it truly a tavern brawl, or the deliberate erasure of a voice too bold for its age? The Babington Plot in 1586. A secret web of letters carried promises of rebellion and regicide across England. Anthony Babington and his fellow conspirators planned to free Mary, Queen of Scots, and overthrow Elizabeth I in the name of Catholic restoration. Yet the messages, hidden in coded ciphers and beer barrels, were intercepted by Elizabeth's spymaster, Francis Walsingham. The plot collapsed, leading to Mary's execution. But the question endures, was Babington truly the mastermind, or merely a pawn in a larger game of intelligence and power? The Essex Rebellion in February 1601, the restless streets of London witnessed the bold gamble of Robert Devereux, Earl of Essex. Once a favorite of Queen Elizabeth I, he led a small band of followers in an ill-fated attempt to seize power and influence the crown. His plan unraveled within hours, as the city turned against him and royal forces closed in. Condemned and executed, Essex left behind a haunting question. Was his rebellion mere ambition, or the desperate act of a man silenced by a fading queen? The Gowrie conspiracy in August 1600, Edinburgh was shaken by an enigmatic clash within the home of John Ruthven, Earl of Gowrie. King James VI claimed he narrowly escaped an attempted abduction or assassination, while both Ruthven brothers were slain in the struggle. No trial followed, and details rested solely on the king's account, leaving contemporaries divided. Was this truly a foiled conspiracy against the crown, or a carefully staged episode to eliminate rivals and tighten royal authority? The truth remains clouded in doubt. The by-plot in 1603, as James I ascended the English throne, whispers of conspiracy stirred among discontented factions. The by-plot, led by Catholic priests and secular allies, aimed to kidnap the king and force greater tolerance for their faith. Yet the scheme was betrayed before it began, its leaders arrested and executed. Overshadowed by larger intrigues of the age, the plot left behind unanswered doubts. Was it a genuine threat to the crown, or a minor conspiracy amplified to justify harsher control? The main plot in the summer of 1603, a hidden conspiracy unfolded against the newly crowned James I of England. The so-called main plot, involving figures like Lord Cobham and Sir Walter Raleigh, sought to remove the king and replace him with a rival claimant, Arabella Stuart. Financing was allegedly promised by Spanish agents, tying the scheme to wider European rivalries. Though exposed and suppressed, uncertainties linger. Was it truly a coordinated threat, or a web of accusations crafted to destroy political enemies? The Popish plot in 1678, England was gripped by tales of a vast Catholic conspiracy to assassinate King Charles II. The story, spun by Titus Oates, claimed Jesuits and foreign agents plotted to restore papal power through bloodshed. Parliament and the public believed him, sparking executions, purges, and a wave of anti-Catholic fear. Yet no evidence ever confirmed the scheme. Was the Popish plot a phantom born of paranoia, or a masterstroke of deception that reshaped the politics of an anxious kingdom? The Rye House plot in 1683, a secluded farmhouse along the road to Newmarket, became the center of whispered treason. Discontented Whigs conspired to ambush King Charles II and his brother James, Duke of York, as they returned from the races. The plan promised a swift strike to alter England's succession, but an unexpected change in the royal itinerary unraveled it. Trials and executions soon followed, yet historians still question. Was the Rye House plot a genuine conspiracy, or a convenient pretext to silence opposition? The murder of Sir Thomas Overbury in 1613, the death of poet and courtier Sir Thomas Overbury inside the Tower of London raised unsettling questions. Officially, he died of illness while imprisoned, but whispers soon spread of poison slipped into his food by those fearing his influence. The scandal implicated nobles, courtiers, and even the king's favorite, Robert Carr, in a tangled web of power and betrayal. Was Overbury's death the silencing of a dangerous critic, or merely a convenient mystery born from courtly intrigue? The murder of Amy Robsart in September 1560, Amy Robsart, wife of Robert Dudley, was found dead at the foot of a staircase in her Oxfordshire home. Official inquests ruled her death an accident, caused by a fall, yet rumors spread swiftly through Elizabethan England. Dudley, the favored courtier of Queen Elizabeth I, stood to gain both freedom and influence, making suspicion inevitable. Was Amy's death truly misfortune, or the carefully concealed removal of an obstacle to ambition at the heart of the Tudor court? The murder of Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley, in February 1567. Edinburgh awoke to the news that Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley and husband of Mary, Queen of Scots, had been found dead in a garden beside a house reduced to rubble by an explosion. Strangely, his body bore no burns, only signs of strangulation. Accusations swirled, implicating Scottish nobles and even Mary herself in the plot. The crime reshaped the kingdom's politics, yet one question still haunts history: who truly orchestrated the violent end of Scotland's king consort? The murder of King Edmund I in May 946. King Edmund I of England met an abrupt and violent end during a feast at Pucklechurch. Accounts describe the young monarch confronting an outlaw, only to be fatally stabbed in the ensuing struggle. Some accounts describe a secret execution, while others suggest he may have escaped altogether. Was Edward truly slain in silence, or did his story continue in shadows beyond the castle walls? The truth remains elusive. The murder of Richard II in 1400, the once powerful Richard II, deposed and imprisoned by his cousin Henry IV, died within the cold walls of Pontefract Castle. Official records offered little clarity. Some claimed starvation, others whispered of violent murder sanctioned by the new regime. His body was hastily displayed to quell rumors, yet doubts endured among subjects who believed their king still lived. Was Richard's end a quiet act of neglect, or a calculated killing to secure a fragile Lancastrian throne? The mystery persists in silence. The princes in the Tower in 1483, two young heirs to the English throne, Edward V and his brother Richard, were lodged in the Tower of London, never to be seen again. Their uncle, Richard III, assumed the crown, while rumors spread that the boys had been quietly murdered. Chronicles point fingers at Richard, others at rival nobles, yet no bodies were ever found. Were the princes victims of ruthless ambition, or did they escape into obscurity? The unanswered fate of the brothers remains one of history's deepest enigmas. The murder of Edward V in 1483, Edward V, the 12-year-old King of England, was taken with his brother Richard to the Tower of London under the protection of their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester. Soon after, both boys vanished, and whispers of foul play spread across the realm. Many accused Richard, now Richard III, of ordering his nephew's death to secure the crown. Yet without proof or bodies, the truth slipped into legend. Was Edward V murdered in silence, or did his story continue in exile? The murder of Richard, Duke of York in 1483, Richard, Duke of York, just 9 years old, was lodged in the Tower of London beside his brother, Edward V. Together they were heirs to a troubled throne, yet both soon disappeared from history's record. Chroniclers later claimed they were murdered, their uncle Richard III cast as the chief suspect. But no definitive evidence has ever emerged. Was young Richard quietly silenced to clear a path to power, or did he survive in obscurity under another name? The murder of Henry VI in May 1471, within the stone walls of the Tower of London, Henry VI, the last Lancastrian king, met his end. Official accounts claimed he died of melancholy, but many believed he was murdered on the orders of Edward IV, eager to secure his Yorkist throne after years of civil war. Chroniclers hinted at a quiet killing in the night, erasing a rival whose claims still lingered. Was Henry's death a natural passing, or the final act in England's bitter dynastic struggle? The murder of Mary Stuart's secretary, David Rizzio, in March 1566. The Scottish court was shaken when David Rizzio, secretary and confidant to Mary, Queen of Scots, was dragged from her chambers in Holyrood Palace. Before the Queen's eyes, he was stabbed over 50 times by a group of nobles led by her husband, Lord Darnley. Officially, it was an act of jealousy and political resentment, yet many suspected deeper motives. Was Rizzio's brutal murder a spontaneous outburst, or part of a calculated plot to weaken Mary's throne? The Mary, Queen of Scots conspiracy in 1586. Secret letters sealed the fate of Mary, Queen of Scots. Imprisoned in England for nearly 2 decades, she was accused of plotting against Elizabeth I through the Babington Plot, a plan to assassinate the Queen and restore Catholic rule. Francis Walsingham's spy network intercepted her coded messages, presenting them as evidence of treason. Condemned and executed, Mary became both martyr and traitor in the eyes of history. Yet questions remain: was she truly complicit, or ensnared in a web of manipulation? The Ridolfi plot in 1571. England stood on edge as whispers of conspiracy reached Queen Elizabeth I's court. Orchestrated by the Florentine banker Roberto Ridolfi, the plot sought to depose Elizabeth, Mary, Queen of Scots, to the Duke of Norfolk, and restore Catholic power with Spanish military support. Letters and coded messages tied nobles to the scheme, but the plan unraveled before it could take form. Was the Ridolfi plot a genuine threat to Elizabeth's reign, or a carefully inflated tale to justify harsher rule? The Throckmorton plot in 1583, a secret plan surfaced that threatened the stability of Elizabethan England. Named after Francis Throckmorton, a young Catholic nobleman, the plot aimed to assassinate Elizabeth I and place Mary, Queen of Scots, on the throne with support from Spain and the papacy. Discovered through intercepted letters and Throckmorton's own confession under torture, the scheme collapsed before it began. Yet doubts linger: was this truly a vast Catholic conspiracy, or an exaggerated tale crafted to strengthen Eliza the Babington plot against Elizabeth I in 1586? A web of secret correspondence wove together one of the most infamous conspiracies of Elizabethan England. Led by Anthony Babington, the plot sought to assassinate Queen Elizabeth I and place Mary, Queen of Scots, on the throne with foreign Catholic support. But Francis Walsingham's spy network intercepted the coded letters, sealing Mary's fate. Her execution followed soon after, altering the balance of power in Europe. Yet the question remains: was Mary a willing conspirator, or the victim of a masterful trap? The murder of Tsarevich Dmitry in 1591, the youngest son of Ivan the Terrible, Tsarevich Dmitry, was found dead in the town of Uglich. Official reports claimed a tragic accident, the boy said to have fallen upon his own knife during a seizure. Yet many believed he was murdered on orders of Boris Godunov, whose path to the throne Dmitry obstructed. Years later, imposters claiming to be the miraculously survived prince fueled turmoil across Russia. Was Dmitry's death an accident, an assassination, or the spark of a dynasty's unraveling? The false Dmitry conspiracies. At the dawn of the 17th century, Russia was shaken by the sudden rise of men claiming to be Tsarevich Dmitry, the son of Ivan the Terrible who had died years earlier. The first false Dmitry gained the throne with Polish backing, only to be overthrown and killed. Others followed, each stirring rebellion and unrest during the time of troubles. Were these pretenders clever impostors exploiting chaos, or could one have been the true Dmitry, escaped from Uglich to reclaim his birthright? The murder of Peter III of Russia in July 1762. Peter III of Russia, newly crowned emperor, was suddenly deposed after just 6 months on the throne. Imprisoned in Rapsha under guard, he soon died in circumstances described as a sudden colic. Though whispers of strangulation quickly spread, his ambitious wife, Catherine, who became Catherine the Great, denied involvement, yet suspicion lingered over her allies. Was Peter's death the inevitable end of a weak and unpopular ruler, or a carefully orchestrated murder to secure an empire's future? The murder of Paul I of Russia in March 1801. Emperor Paul I of Russia met his end within the walls of St. Michael's Castle. A group of nobles, frustrated by his erratic rule and harsh reforms, stormed his chambers at night. Accounts suggest he was forced to abdicate before being struck down. Some say strangled, others beaten to death. His son Alexander soon took the throne, but uncertainty lingered. Was Paul's murder a spontaneous act of desperation, or a carefully arranged coup hidden beneath the shadows of power? The Decembrist conspiracy in December 1825, as Russia mourned the death of Tsar Alexander I, a group of young army officers gathered in Senate Square, St. Petersburg. Inspired by liberal ideals, they sought to prevent Nicholas I from taking the throne and demanded a constitution. Their uprising, however, faltered in confusion and bloodshed, swiftly crushed by loyalist forces. Leaders were executed or exiled, but their vision lingered. Was the Decembrist revolt a doomed dream of reform, or the first spark of Russia's coming revolution? The assassination of Alexander II in March 1881. The streets of St. Petersburg became the stage for a violent turning point in Russian history. Tsar Alexander II, known as the Tsar Liberator for emancipating the serfs, was struck down by bombs hurled from members of the revolutionary group Narodnaya Volya. Despite heavy security, the assassins succeeded, leaving the monarch mortally wounded. His death halted reforms and ushered in a new era of repression. Was Alexander's assassination the triumph of revolutionaries, or the spark that deepened Russia's turmoil? The Rasputin murder conspiracy in December 1916, within the frozen heart of Petrograd, Grigory Rasputin, mystic and confidant to the Russian royal family, met a death as mysterious as his life. Accounts claim he was poisoned, shot multiple times, and finally drowned, yet no version fully agrees. His killers, aristocrats fearing his influence over the Tsarina, believed they were saving the empire. Instead, his death became a symbol of the dynasty's decline. Was Rasputin truly so hard to kill, or has legend obscured the reality of his final night? The Bolshevik conspiracy in the turbulent years before 1917, whispers of revolution threaded through Russia's factories, barracks, and underground presses. The Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, organized in secrecy, weaving networks of agitators and clandestine publications. Their vision was radical: an end to monarchy, land for peasants, and power for workers. To the Tsarist regime it was treason, to supporters a promise of justice. Yet behind coded messages and hidden meetings lay a greater question: was the Bolshevik rise inevitable, or the product of a carefully orchestrated conspiracy? The Trotsky assassination in August 1940, far from the turmoil of Soviet Russia, Leon Trotsky lived in exile in Mexico City. Once a leading architect of the Bolshevik Revolution, he had become Joseph Stalin's most dangerous rival. An assassin posing as a trusted ally struck him with an ice axe, delivering a fatal wound. Though Stalin denied direct involvement, few doubted his reach. Was Trotsky's death the inevitable silencing of a revolutionary voice, or the final move in a ruthless game of power without borders? The Stalin purge trials in the late 1930s, the Soviet Union descended into an atmosphere of fear as Joseph Stalin launched a series of infamous purge trials. Party leaders, military commanders, and intellectuals were accused of treason, espionage, and secret plots against the state. Many confessed under torture, only to face execution or exile to the gulags. Officially, these trials cleansed the nation of enemies, yet historians question their legitimacy. Were the purge trials a defense of Soviet power, or a calculated performance to cement Stalin's absolute rule? The Katyn massacre cover-up in 1940. Deep within the forests of Katyn, thousands of Polish officers and intellectuals were executed by the Soviet NKVD. When mass graves were uncovered 3 years later, Germany blamed the Soviets, while Moscow denied responsibility and accused the Nazis. For decades, the truth was buried under layers of propaganda and secrecy. Only in 1990 did the Soviet Union finally admit its role. Yet the lingering question remains: was Katyn an isolated atrocity, or part of a broader strategy of silence and control? The Reichstag fire conspiracy in February 1933. Flames engulfed the Reichstag, the seat of Germany's parliament, casting eerie light over a nation already in turmoil. Authorities quickly arrested Marinus van der Lubbe, a Dutch communist, claiming he acted alone. Yet suspicions spread that the Nazis themselves had staged the fire to justify crushing political opposition. The blaze became the pretext for sweeping emergency powers that reshaped Germany's future. Was the Reichstag fire truly the act of one man, or the calculated spark of a dictatorship? The Beer Hall Putsch in November 1923, Munich became the stage for Adolf Hitler's first attempt to seize power. With armed supporters and fellow nationalists, he stormed a crowded beer hall, declaring the Bavarian government overthrown. The coup unraveled within hours, crushed by police gunfire in the streets. Hitler was arrested and imprisoned, yet during this time he wrote Mein Kampf, laying out his future vision. Was the Beer Hall Putsch a failed rebellion doomed from the start, or the crucial rehearsal for a darker destiny? The night of the Long Knives in June 1934, Germany was swept by a wave of silent executions later known as the Night of the Long Knives. Adolf Hitler, fearing rivals within his own movement, ordered the purge of the SA leadership and other political opponents. Over several days, former allies were arrested and killed without trial, their fates sealed in secrecy. The violence secured Hitler's dominance, yet uncertainty endures. Was this a calculated strike for power alone, or the elimination of secrets too dangerous to surface? The Rudolf Hess flight in May 1941. As Europe burned in war, Rudolf Hess, Deputy Führer of Nazi Germany, flew a solitary mission to Scotland. Claiming he sought to negotiate peace with Britain, he crash-landed and was swiftly taken prisoner. Hitler denounced him as delusional, while British officials treated him with suspicion and secrecy. For decades, questions have lingered. Was Hess acting on his own in a desperate gamble, or was his mysterious flight part of a larger, hidden strategy within the Nazi leadership? The July 20th plot in the summer of 1944, deep within Hitler's Wolf's Lair headquarters, a briefcase bomb was placed beneath a heavy oak table. The conspirators, led by Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg, sought to assassinate the Führer and seize control of the collapsing Reich. The explosion tore through the room, killing 4, but Hitler survived with minor injuries. Swift reprisals followed, ending the lives of thousands. Was the July 20th plot the final chance to alter Germany's fate, or an inevitable failure against a totalitarian grip? The assassination of Reinhard Heydrich in May 1942. Reinhard Heydrich, one of Nazi Germany's most feared officials and architect of the final solution, was attacked in Prague by Czechoslovak resistance fighters trained in Britain. A grenade fatally wounded him, leading to his death days later. The Nazis responded with brutal reprisals, wiping out entire villages such as Lidice. Yet historians still debate, did Heydrich's assassination weaken the Nazi regime, or did the savage retaliation only deepen the suffering of occupied Europe while leaving the machinery of terror intact? The Operation Valkyrie plot in July 1944, a secret plan within the German army sought to turn the tide of the Second World War. Known as Operation Valkyrie, it was designed to seize control of the state after Adolf Hitler's death. Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg placed a bomb inside a briefcase during a military conference at the Wolf's Lair. The explosion shook the room, but Hitler survived. The coup collapsed within hours. Was Valkyrie a doomed gamble, or the closest Germany ever came to ending tyranny from within? The OSS assassination attempts on Hitler during the Second World War. The U.S. Office of Strategic Services, the forerunner of the CIA, crafted daring schemes to eliminate Adolf Hitler. Plans ranged from planting explosives on his train to poisoning his food, and even lacing his clothing with chemicals to destabilize him. None ever reached fruition, as circumstances shifted or intelligence proved unreliable. These aborted missions reveal both creativity and desperation. Had even one succeeded, would the war's course have changed, or would another figure have carried Germany further into ruin? The Pearl Harbor conspiracy theories. On December 7, 1941, Japanese aircraft struck Pearl Harbor, drawing the United States into the Second World War. The attack appeared sudden, yet over time, conspiracy theories emerged. Some argued that U.S. intelligence had prior warnings, pointing to intercepted codes and unusual fleet movements. Others claimed leaders allowed the attack to unite public opinion for war. Official investigations dismissed these suspicions, but uncertainty lingers. Was Pearl Harbor purely a surprise assault, or did hidden knowledge shape America's path into global conflict? The Yalta Conference secrets. In February 1945, as the Second World War neared its end, the Allied leaders, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin, gathered at Yalta to shape the post-war world. Behind closed doors, they debated the fate of Germany, the division of Europe, and the birth of the United Nations. Yet many details of their agreements remained shrouded in secrecy, fueling claims of concessions and hidden bargains. Did Yalta secure lasting peace, or did its undisclosed compromises plant the seeds of the Cold War that followed? The Manhattan Project secrecy during the Second World War, a vast scientific effort unfolded under the code name Manhattan Project. In hidden laboratories across the United States, physicists and engineers labored to unlock the power of the atom, creating the world's first nuclear weapons. Thousands worked in secrecy, many unaware of the true scope of their task. Security was so tight that even Vice President Truman remained uninformed until 1945. Was this unprecedented secrecy a safeguard of victory, or the beginning of a shadowed age of fear? The Rosenberg espionage case. In 1951, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg stood trial in the United States, accused of passing atomic secrets to the Soviet Union. Prosecutors claimed their network supplied vital information that accelerated Moscow's nuclear program, a charge that gripped the nation at the height of Cold War tension. Convicted and executed, the Rosenbergs became symbols of both treachery and controversy. Were they truly masterminds of atomic espionage, or victims of political hysteria and fragile evidence in an age ruled by fear? The Cambridge Five. In the shadowed years of the Cold War, Britain uncovered a betrayal at the very heart of its establishment. The Cambridge Five, Kim Philby, Guy Burgess, Donald MacLean, Anthony Blunt, and John Cairncross, were recruited as Soviet spies while students, later rising to influential posts in government and intelligence. For decades, they leaked secrets that shaped global strategy, often undetected. Yet mysteries remain. How much damage did their actions truly cause? And were there others still hidden within the fabric of power? The Venona Project. Beginning in 1943, American codebreakers quietly launched the Venona Project, a top-secret effort to decrypt Soviet intelligence cables. Over decades, they uncovered a hidden network of espionage reaching deep into Western governments, from diplomats to scientists involved in the Manhattan Project. Yet the revelations remained classified until the 1990s, long after many lives had been shattered by suspicion and accusation. Did Venona truly expose the full scope of Soviet infiltration, or did its partial decrypts leave as many questions as answers? The Klaus Fuchs espionage case. In the aftermath of the Second World War, physicist Klaus Fuchs emerged as both a brilliant scientist and a traitor to his adopted homeland. While working on the Manhattan Project and later in Britain, he secretly passed vital atomic research to the Soviet Union. His betrayal, uncovered in 1950, revealed how deeply Cold War rivalries had penetrated scientific collaboration. Yet historians still debate, was Fuchs driven by ideology, fear, or quiet ambition? His motives remain as complex as the secrets he gave away. The Alger Hiss case. In 1948, the name Alger Hiss, a respected U.S. diplomat and former State Department official, became entangled in accusations of espionage. Whittaker Chambers, a confessed Soviet courier, claimed Hiss had secretly passed documents to Moscow during the 1930s. Despite his denials, Hiss was convicted of perjury rather than espionage, fueling one of the Cold War's most divisive controversies. Was he truly a Soviet agent hidden in plain sight, or a victim of political paranoia that blurred truth with suspicion? The McCarthy communist conspiracy claims. In the early 1950s, America found itself gripped by Senator Joseph McCarthy's allegations of communist infiltration at the highest levels of government. Brandishing lists of supposed subversives, he claimed secret networks of Soviet agents operated within the State Department, the Army, and even Hollywood. Careers were destroyed, and fear spread across the nation, yet much of his evidence proved unsubstantiated. Was McCarthy exposing a hidden threat to democracy, or did his crusade create a climate where suspicion itself became the true weapon? The John F. Kennedy assassination. On November 22, 1963, the motorcade of President John F. Kennedy rolled through Dealey Plaza in Dallas when gunfire shattered the air. Official investigations concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, yet doubts quickly emerged. Witnesses reported conflicting accounts, multiple shots were debated, and evidence seemed incomplete. Over the years, theories have pointed to the mafia, the CIA, or foreign powers. Was Kennedy's death the result of a lone assassin, or the concealed hand of a broader conspiracy? The question endures. The Lee Harvey Oswald conspiracy. In the aftermath of President Kennedy's assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald was swiftly arrested and declared the lone gunman. Yet his life story raised unsettling questions. A former Marine who defected to the Soviet Union, later returning with ease, and connected to both pro- and anti-Castro groups. Before he could stand trial, Oswald was shot dead by Jack Ruby, silencing him forever. Was Oswald truly a solitary figure driven by chance, or a pawn entangled in a deeper web of hidden forces? The Jack Ruby conspiracy. 2 days after President Kennedy's assassination, the world watched in disbelief as Jack Ruby stepped from the crowd and shot Lee Harvey Oswald on live television. Ruby, a Dallas nightclub owner with alleged ties to organized crime, claimed it was an act of grief and patriotism. Yet investigators uncovered suspicious meetings, debts, and connections that fueled deeper doubts. Was Ruby simply avenging the fallen president? Or was he silencing Oswald to conceal a conspiracy that reached far beyond one man? The Lyndon Johnson involvement theories in the turbulent hours after President Kennedy's assassination. Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in aboard Air Force One, his hand raised beside Jacqueline Kennedy. While the Warren Commission cleared him of any connection, speculation has long persisted. Johnson's rise to power, his ties to Texas oil men, and his political battles fed suspicions that he benefited most from Kennedy's death. Was Johnson merely the successor to tragedy, or did hidden ambitions entwine him with the darkest theories of Dallas? The CIA involvement theories in the years following President Kennedy's assassination, suspicion turned toward the very agency meant to safeguard national security. The CIA. Critics pointed to Kennedy's clashes with intelligence leaders over Cuba, Vietnam, and covert operations, suggesting powerful motives for betrayal. Declassified files revealed surveillance of Oswald, yet offered no clear link to Dallas. Still, gaps in evidence and redacted records keep speculation alive. Was the CIA merely an observer of history's darkest day, or a hidden hand shaping it from within? The mafia conspiracy theories in JFK's death among the many theories surrounding President Kennedy's assassination. Some point to America's underworld. Organized crime figures had motives. The Kennedy administration's crackdown on the mafia, and Robert Kennedy's relentless prosecutions as Attorney General. Witnesses hinted at connections between Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack Ruby, and mob-linked associates, though evidence remained circumstantial. Could the mafia have orchestrated the murder of a president, silencing Oswald through Ruby to erase their trail? Or does this theory remain another thread in Dallas's tangled web of suspicion? The Umbrella Man on the bright morning of November 22, 1963, as President Kennedy's motorcade passed through Dealey Plaza, one figure stood out. A man holding an open black umbrella, despite clear skies. Captured in photographs and film, his presence sparked decades of speculation. Some suggested it was a signal for the shooters, others a hidden weapon itself. Later testimony identified him as Louis Stephen Witt, claiming it was a protest symbol. But was the umbrella merely coincidence, or a silent key to the mystery of Dallas? The magic bullet theory central to the official account of President Kennedy's assassination is the so-called magic bullet theory. Investigators concluded that a single bullet struck Kennedy from behind, exited his throat, and then wounded Governor John Connally seated ahead of him, causing multiple injuries with improbable precision. Critics argue the trajectory defies logic, pointing instead to the possibility of multiple shooters. Was this bullet truly the key to explaining Dallas? Or does its path reveal gaps in a narrative still clouded by doubt? The Warren Commission controversies in 1964. The Warren Commission released its report on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, concluding that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Yet from the start, critics questioned its methods, relying on incomplete evidence, hurried timelines, and sealed documents. The single bullet theory became a focal point of dispute, fueling suspicions of overlooked conspirators. Decades later, newly declassified files continue to raise doubts. Was the Warren Commission a genuine search for truth, or a carefully shaped narrative to protect deeper secrets? The House Select Committee on Assassinations in the late 1970s, growing public doubt over official accounts of political killings, led to the creation of the House Select Committee on Assassinations. Re-examining the deaths of John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr., the committee concluded that Kennedy was likely killed as the result of a conspiracy, citing acoustic evidence of a possible second gunman. Yet the findings were limited, leaving critical questions unresolved. Did the committee uncover the first cracks in the lone assassin narrative, or only deepen the mystery? The Martin Luther King Jr. assassination on April 4, 1968. The voice of the civil rights movement was silenced when Martin Luther King Jr. was shot on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. James Earl Ray, a fugitive drifter, was arrested and convicted, yet questions about his role persist. Allegations of government surveillance, possible accomplices, and conflicting witness accounts cloud the case. Was King the victim of a lone assassin's bullet, Or did his death emerge from deeper forces threatened by his message of justice and equality? The James Earl Ray conspiracy. James Earl Ray's arrest in 1968 closed the official case on Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, but his story left behind troubling gaps. A small-time criminal, Ray fled across continents with multiple passports and unexplained funds, raising doubts about whether he acted alone. Later, he recanted his confession, insisting he was a pawn in a larger plot. Was Ray truly the lone assassin history records, or merely a convenient figure in a conspiracy designed to silence a powerful voice for change? The Malcolm X assassination on February 21, 1965. Malcolm X was gunned down while addressing a crowd in New York's Audubon Ballroom. Officially, members of the Nation of Islam were convicted, yet questions linger over who orchestrated the attack. FBI surveillance, tensions within the movement, and later confessions all complicate the narrative. Some argue law enforcement agencies withheld crucial evidence. Was Malcolm X's death simply the result of internal rivalries, or part of a broader effort to silence one of America's most uncompromising voices? The Robert F. Kennedy assassination on June 5, 1968. Senator Robert F. Kennedy was shot in the kitchen pantry of the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, just moments after celebrating his victory in the California primary. Sirhan Sirhan, a young Palestinian, was arrested at the scene and convicted, yet doubts about the case have persisted. Witnesses reported more gunshots than his weapon could hold, and questions about a possible second gunman remain. Was Kennedy's death the act of a lone assassin, or part of a deeper plot hidden in the shadows? The Sirhan Sirhan conspiracy. Sirhan Sirhan was swiftly convicted for the 1968 assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. Yet the case has never fully settled. He admitted to the shooting, but later claimed to have no memory of the act, fueling speculation of hypnosis or manipulation. Ballistic evidence suggested more shots were fired than his revolver carried, raising the possibility of a second gunman. Was Sirhan truly the sole assassin, or an unwitting pawn in a larger conspiracy that silenced Kennedy's rising bid for the presidency? The Chappaquiddick incident. On the night of July 18, 1969, Senator Edward Ted Kennedy's car plunged off a narrow bridge on Chappaquiddick Island, leaving passenger Mary Jo Kopechne trapped inside. Kennedy escaped but delayed reporting the accident for nearly 10 hours, a decision that haunted his career. Official inquiries raised questions about his actions, the rescue attempts, and the true sequence of events. Was the tragedy merely a reckless accident clouded by panic, or did political influence shape a mystery that still unsettles history? The Watergate scandal. In June 1972, 5 men were arrested inside the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C. What seemed like a simple burglary soon unraveled into a vast political scandal linking the operation to President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign. Secret tapes, hush money, and covert intelligence work revealed a culture of abuse at the highest level. Nixon resigned before impeachment, yet mysteries linger. Was Watergate merely a failed cover-up, or a glimpse into deeper, undisclosed operations of power? The deep throat identity mystery. During the Watergate scandal, the most vital clues came from a shadowy figure known only as Deep Throat. Meeting reporters in dark parking garages, he guided the investigation that eventually toppled a president. For decades, his true identity sparked endless speculation. Was he a lone whistleblower, or part of a broader intelligence effort? In 2005, former FBI official Mark Felt revealed himself as the source. Yet questions remain. Did Felt act purely from conscience, or were deeper political motives driving the leaks? The Iran-Contra affair. In the mid-1980s, secret dealings emerged that linked two conflicts worlds apart. Senior U.S. officials arranged the covert sale of arms to Iran, despite an embargo, with profits funneled to support Contra rebels in Nicaragua. When exposed, the operation revealed a shadow network bypassing Congress and public scrutiny. Trials and hearings followed, yet many records were destroyed, and key questions left unanswered. Was the Iran-Contra affair merely a rogue operation, or evidence of a deeper system of hidden power shaping foreign policy? The October surprise in the 1980 presidential election. Whispers spread of a secret deal that altered history's course. Allegedly, Members of Ronald Reagan's campaign negotiated with Iran to delay the release of American hostages until after Election Day, denying President Jimmy Carter a final triumph. The hostages were freed just minutes after Reagan took the oath of office, fueling suspicions that linger decades later. Was the timing mere coincidence, or the result of hidden diplomacy that reshaped American politics from the shadows? The savings and loan scandal in the 1980s, America faced a financial crisis that exposed the vulnerabilities of deregulation. Hundreds of savings and loan institutions, once trusted with community deposits, collapsed under risky investments, fraud, and political favoritism. The scandal cost taxpayers billions, while powerful figures escaped with little consequence. Congressional hearings revealed tangled webs of influence, yet many details faded into obscurity. Was the collapse simply the result of poor oversight, or did hidden networks of power quietly profit from one of history's costliest failures? The Inslaw affair in the 1980s, a small software company called Inslaw developed Promise, a powerful program designed to track legal cases. Soon after, the U.S. Justice Department was accused of stealing the software, allegedly distributing it to intelligence agencies worldwide without payment. Lawsuits, vanished documents, and mysterious deaths surrounded the controversy, fueling speculation of covert operations tied to the program. Was the Inslaw affair simply a contractual dispute, or did Promise become a secret tool at the center of global intelligence intrigue? The Promise software conspiracy in the 1980s, the Promise software, created by the company Inslaw, promised to revolutionize case management for courts and law enforcement. But allegations soon surfaced that the program had been stolen by the U.S. Justice Department and secretly modified for intelligence gathering. Reports claimed it was distributed globally, equipped with hidden backdoors to monitor allies and adversaries alike. Court rulings, denials, and mysterious incidents deepened the intrigue. Was Promise just advanced software, or a covert instrument in a worldwide web of surveillance? The BCCI banking scandal in the 1980s and early 1990s, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, known as BCCI, was exposed as a global web of fraud, money laundering, and hidden dealings. Behind its facade of international banking, investigators uncovered links to arms trafficking, drug cartels, and covert intelligence operations. When the institution collapsed, billions vanished, leaving governments and regulators scrambling. Was BCCI merely the world's biggest banking fraud, or a financial tool deliberately shaped to serve the shadowy interests of power across continents? The Franklin credit scandal in the late 1980s, a Nebraska credit union called the Franklin Community Federal Credit Union became the center of disturbing allegations. Its manager, Lawrence King Jr., was accused of embezzling millions, but whispers soon pointed to something darker: claims of political corruption, child exploitation, and secret networks reaching into Washington. Multiple investigations collapsed amid conflicting testimony and suppressed evidence. Was the Franklin credit scandal merely a case of financial fraud, or the surface of a far deeper web of hidden abuse and power? The Mena Airport conspiracy in the 1980s, a small airstrip in Mena, Arkansas, became the focus of allegations linking it to covert U.S. operations. Locals reported unusual flights, said to involve arms shipments to Nicaraguan Contras and drug trafficking into the United States. Investigations by journalists and officials hinted at ties to the CIA, but evidence remained elusive, and inquiries often ended abruptly. Was Mena Airport simply a quiet regional hub, or a hidden crossroads where America's secret wars blurred with the shadows of crime? The Whitewater scandal in the 1990s, questions arose over a failed Arkansas land deal known as Whitewater, tied to Bill and Hillary Clinton. Investigations probed whether political influence or financial misconduct played a role in the collapse, leading to a series of hearings and prosecutions of associates. While the Clintons were never formally charged, the scandal fueled years of controversy and suspicion. Was Whitewater simply a complex business failure, or the first thread in a larger web of political intrigue that shaped an era? The Vince Foster death in July 1993. Vince Foster, deputy White House counsel and longtime friend of the Clintons, was found dead in a Virginia park. Official investigations ruled it a suicide, citing depression and personal strain. Yet the case quickly drew suspicion, with missing documents, conflicting witness accounts, and theories of foul play feeding public doubt. Multiple inquiries reaffirmed the suicide verdict, but questions persist. Was Foster's death truly a private tragedy, or does it conceal secrets entwined with the politics of Washington? The Monica Lewinsky scandal in the late 1990s. The presidency of Bill Clinton was shaken by revelations of his affair with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. What began as a private relationship quickly escalated into a constitutional crisis when Clinton denied the allegations under oath. Independent counsel Kenneth Starr's investigation uncovered evidence that led to impeachment proceedings in the House. Though acquitted by the Senate, the scandal left lasting scars. Was it merely a personal indiscretion magnified by politics, or a turning point in American public life? The 2000 U.S. election Florida recount in November 2000. The outcome of the U.S. presidential election hinged on Florida, where a razor-thin margin separated George W. Bush and Al Gore. Disputed ballots, hanging chads, and confusing voting machines plunged the nation into weeks of uncertainty. Legal battles escalated to the Supreme Court, which halted the recount and effectively awarded victory to Bush. Yet many questioned the fairness of the process. Was the Florida recount a lawful resolution of a contested vote, or a moment when democracy itself faltered? The 9/11 conspiracy theories on September 11, 2001, coordinated terrorist attacks struck the United States, claiming thousands of lives and reshaping global security. The official account named al-Qaeda as the orchestrators, yet alternative theories soon emerged. Some pointed to unexplained building collapses, intelligence warnings left unheeded, or the possibility of inside complicity. Government investigations sought to close the case, but doubts persisted among segments of the public. Was 9/11 solely the work of foreign terrorists, or does the tragedy conceal unanswered questions within its shadows? The World Trade Center Building 7 collapse on September 11, 2001. As smoke and debris filled lower Manhattan, World Trade Center Building 7 fell in a sudden symmetrical collapse. Unlike the Twin Towers, it was not struck by an aircraft, but fires sparked by nearby destruction were cited as the cause. Engineers concluded that structural failure brought it down, yet skeptics pointed to its speed and precision as evidence of controlled demolition. Was Building 7's fall a tragic consequence of chaos, or does it conceal a deeper mystery? The Pentagon attack discrepancies on September 11, 2001. American Airlines Flight 77 struck the Pentagon, carving a fiery scar into the U.S. military's headquarters. Official reports detailed the hijacking, yet questions soon arose. Witnesses described conflicting accounts of the impact, while photographs showed limited debris compared to a commercial jetliner. Some pointed to security footage gaps and unusual damage patterns as cause for doubt. Was the Pentagon attack exactly as recorded, or do the lingering discrepancies suggest layers of truth still hidden from view? The Flight 93 questions on September 11, 2001. United Airlines Flight 93 crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, after passengers fought to retake control from hijackers. The official account honors their heroism, yet aspects remain debated. Debris was scattered over miles, fueling speculation of a possible shoot-down, while the absence of full cockpit recordings leaves gaps in the timeline. Was Flight 93 solely the story of courageous resistance ending in tragedy, or does its fragmented evidence hint at details history has yet to reveal? The anthrax attacks in the weeks after September 11, 2001. A new wave of terror struck the United States when letters laced with anthrax spores were mailed to media outlets and senators. The attacks killed 5 people, sickened many more, and spread fear nationwide. Investigators eventually traced the source to a U.S. Army biodefense lab, but the case remained clouded by disputed evidence and unanswered questions. Was the culprit truly identified, or do the anthrax letters reveal a deeper mystery hidden within America's own institutions? The Iraq WMD claims in 2003, the world's attention turned to Iraq as U.S. and allied leaders insisted that Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. Intelligence reports spoke of hidden stockpiles, secret labs, and mobile units capable of unleashing devastation. These claims became the cornerstone for launching the Iraq War. Yet after the invasion, no such weapons were found, leaving behind controversy and doubt. Were the WMD claims a tragic failure of intelligence, or a deliberate narrative crafted to justify a war already decided? The Downing Street Memo in 2005, a leaked British government document later called the Downing Street Memo, revealed discussions from July 2002 about the looming Iraq War. It suggested that U.S. leaders were set on removing Saddam Hussein, and that intelligence about weapons of mass destruction was being fixed around the policy. Supporters called it a candid record of diplomacy. Critics saw proof of manipulation. Was the memo merely an interpretation of tense meetings, or undeniable evidence that the path to war was paved long before its justification? The Abu Ghraib cover-up in 2004, photographs emerged from Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq, revealing U.S. soldiers abusing and humiliating detainees. Official statements framed the acts as the work of a few rogue individuals, but investigations hinted at deeper chains of command, interrogation policies, and secrecy. Evidence suggested systemic practices that reached beyond a single prison. Were the horrors of Abu Ghraib isolated crimes of opportunity, or the concealed outcome of policies quietly sanctioned in the shadows of the war on terror? The Guantanamo Bay secrets since 2002. The U.S. naval base at Guantanamo Bay has housed detainees captured in the war on terror, held outside the usual bounds of law. Reports of indefinite imprisonment, harsh interrogation methods, and secretive military tribunals sparked global debate. While officials argued it safeguarded national security, human rights groups pointed to abuses and withheld evidence. Even today, many files remain classified. Was Guantanamo Bay a necessary shield against unseen threats, or a hidden chamber where justice was quietly set aside? The Edward Snowden revelations in 2013. Edward Snowden, a contractor for the National Security Agency, leaked classified documents that unveiled vast global surveillance programs. The files revealed the collection of phone records, internet data, and secret cooperation with major technology firms, sparking worldwide debate on privacy and state power. To some, Snowden was a whistleblower exposing government overreach. To others, a traitor endangering security. His exile in Russia deepened the controversy. Did Snowden's revelations safeguard democracy, or did they open doors to threats yet unseen? The Julian Assange extradition conspiracy since 2010. Julian Assange, founder of WikiLeaks, has been at the center of a global controversy. His publication of classified U.S. military and diplomatic files exposed state secrets, sparking both praise and outrage. Pursued on charges of espionage, Assange sought refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy before his arrest in London. His ongoing extradition battle with the United States raises questions of transparency, justice, and political motivation. Is Assange's prosecution a matter of law, or a warning to silence future truth-tellers? The WikiLeaks conspiracies since its rise in the late 2000s. WikiLeaks has released troves of classified documents exposing military operations, diplomatic cables, and covert surveillance programs. Supporters hailed it as a beacon of transparency, while critics warned it endangered lives and compromised security. Governments accused WikiLeaks of acting as a tool for hostile powers, with questions surrounding its funding, motives, and timing of leaks. Was WikiLeaks truly an independent force of truth, or part of a deeper game of information warfare still unfolding? The Panama Papers leak in 2016, a massive leak of documents from the law firm Mossack Fonseca, exposed the secret financial dealings of politicians, business leaders, and celebrities worldwide. The Panama Papers revealed hidden offshore accounts, shell companies, and vast networks of tax evasion and money laundering. Governments promised reforms, while protests erupted across continents. Yet many powerful names faced little consequence. Was the Panama Papers leak a breakthrough moment of transparency, or merely a glimpse into a financial system still veiled in secrecy? The Paradise Papers leak in 2017. The release of the Paradise Papers unveiled millions of files from offshore law firm Appleby, exposing how global elites sheltered wealth in tax havens. Among those named were monarchs, politicians, corporations, and celebrities, all linked to complex financial structures beyond the reach of ordinary scrutiny. While many practices were legal, the revelations fueled outrage over hidden privilege and inequality. Did the Paradise Papers uncover the mechanics of a shadow economy, or only hint at an even deeper financial underworld? The Pegasus spyware conspiracy. In recent years, investigations revealed the use of Pegasus, a powerful spyware developed by Israel's NSO group, capable of infiltrating smartphones without a trace. Journalists, activists, politicians, and even heads of state were among its alleged targets, raising alarms about surveillance far beyond criminal or terrorist threats. Governments denied abuses, while evidence suggested global misuse. Was Pegasus merely a tool gone astray, or does its silent presence mark the dawn of a hidden age where privacy itself is an illusion? The Cambridge Analytica scandal in 2018. Revelations emerged that Cambridge Analytica, a political consulting firm, had harvested data from millions of Facebook users without consent. This information was used to build psychological profiles, shaping targeted political ads in elections worldwide. The scandal exposed how digital platforms could manipulate opinion on a massive scale, blurring the line between persuasion and control. Was Cambridge Analytica simply exploiting a loophole in technology, or did it reveal a deeper blueprint for influencing democracy in the digital age? The 2016 U.S. election. Russian interference in 2016. As Americans went to the polls, unseen digital forces were at work. U.S. intelligence agencies later concluded that Russia orchestrated a campaign of cyberattacks, leaked emails, and targeted social media disinformation to sway public opinion and undermine trust in democracy. While no votes were proven altered, the scale of influence sparked intense debate. Was this interference merely the beginning of a new era of information warfare, or a glimpse into vulnerabilities that remain exposed in every future election? The Trump-Russia conspiracy. In the wake of the 2016 U.S. election, allegations surfaced of secret ties between Donald Trump's campaign and Russian officials. Investigations uncovered meetings, leaked emails, and online propaganda traced to Moscow, fueling suspicions of collusion. Special counsel Robert Mueller's report documented extensive contacts but stopped short of proving a criminal conspiracy. To critics, it revealed dangerous foreign influence. To supporters, it was proof of political overreach. Was the Trump-Russia connection a tangled web of coincidences, or a hidden alliance never fully exposed? The Steele dossier in 2016, a collection of memos compiled by former British spy Christopher Steele, emerged, alleging ties between Donald Trump and Russia. Funded initially by political opponents, the dossier contained explosive claims of compromise and secret dealings, though many details remained unverified. It became a focal point in FBI investigations and partisan battles, shaping public perception of the Russia probe. Was the Steele dossier a credible warning ignored, a mix of fact and rumor, or a political weapon cloaked in intelligence? The Hunter Biden laptop controversy in 2020. A laptop allegedly belonging to Hunter Biden surfaced, containing emails, business records, and personal files. Critics argued the contents revealed questionable dealings in Ukraine and China, while others dismissed it as politically timed disinformation. Intelligence officials and media outlets debated its authenticity, with some files later verified but broader implications still unclear. Was the laptop a legitimate window into hidden dealings, or a tool in a larger battle of narratives where truth and politics remain entangled? The Jeffrey Epstein case. Jeffrey Epstein, a wealthy financier with powerful connections, was arrested in 2019 on charges of sex trafficking involving underage girls. Just weeks later, he was found dead in his New York jail cell, with officials ruling it a suicide. Yet broken cameras, inattentive guards, and Epstein's ties to politicians, royals, and business leaders fueled global suspicion. Was his death truly self-inflicted, or the silencing of a man whose testimony threatened to expose secrets hidden in the highest corridors of power? The Epstein flight logs. Among the most scrutinized pieces of evidence in the Jeffrey Epstein saga are his private jet flight logs. These records list trips to his residences and the infamous private island, with names of politicians, celebrities, and business leaders appearing among passengers. While many flights may have been routine, the associations fueled speculation about who knew or participated in Epstein's activities. Were the flight logs simply records of travel, or do they hold hidden clues to the networks of influence and secrecy he maintained? The Ghislaine Maxwell network. At the center of Jeffrey Epstein's world stood Ghislaine Maxwell, a British socialite accused of recruiting and grooming young women for his abuse. Convicted in 2021, her trial exposed fragments of a hidden network that stretched across politics, royalty, and global business. Yet many questions remain unanswered about her connections, her silence, and the individuals shielded from scrutiny. Was Maxwell merely Epstein's accomplice, or the key figure in a broader web of exploitation whose full reach remains deliberately obscured? The Franklin scandal allegations in the late 1980s, a Nebraska credit union collapse spiraled into darker claims known as the Franklin scandal. Allegations surfaced of child exploitation, political corruption, and a hidden network reaching into Washington. Grand juries dismissed many charges as unfounded, yet witnesses reported intimidation, missing evidence, and silenced voices. Journalists who pursued the story faced obstacles, deepening suspicion. Was the Franklin affair merely a case of financial fraud exaggerated by rumor, or a glimpse into a shadowed system never fully revealed? The Jimmy Savile cover-up. For decades, Jimmy Savile was celebrated as a beloved entertainer and philanthropist in Britain, his eccentric persona masking a darker truth. After his death in 2011, investigations revealed hundreds of cases of sexual abuse spanning hospitals, schools, and television studios. Reports suggested institutions ignored warnings, enabling his crimes to continue unchecked. The scale of silence raised unsettling questions. Was Savile simply protected by fame, or did powerful networks deliberately conceal his abuses to shield reputations that remain untarnished today? The BBC pedophile scandal. In the wake of revelations about Jimmy Savile, allegations of abuse within the BBC cast a shadow over one of Britain's most trusted institutions. Former employees and victims described a culture where misconduct was ignored and powerful figures shielded from accountability. Investigations uncovered systemic failures, raising concerns about how deeply the problem extended. Was the scandal an isolated lapse in oversight, or evidence of a broader culture of silence within an institution that shaped the nation's media and trust? The Catholic Church abuse cover. UPS. For decades, reports of sexual abuse by clergy emerged across the globe, implicating one of the world's most powerful religious institutions. Investigations revealed not only the scale of abuse but also systematic efforts to conceal it. Priests quietly reassigned, victims silenced, and records withheld. The revelations shattered trust and raised questions about accountability at the highest levels of the Church. Were these cover-ups isolated acts of protection, or evidence of an institutional culture where secrecy became more sacred than justice? The Vatican Bank scandals. Behind the walls of the Vatican, its bank, the Institute for the Works of Religion, has long been shrouded in secrecy. Throughout the 20th century, it faced accusations of money laundering, embezzlement, and ties to organized crime. The mysterious collapse of Banco Ambrosiano in the 1980s, linked to Vatican funds, left questions of corruption and hidden dealings. Despite reforms, allegations continue to surface. Is the Vatican Bank merely a troubled institution, or a financial instrument entangled in a deeper web of global intrigue? The Banco Ambrosiano collapse in 1982. Banco Ambrosiano, one of Italy's largest private banks, collapsed under the weight of billions in unaccounted funds. Investigations uncovered links to the Vatican Bank, secretive offshore companies, and even the shadowy Masonic Lodge P2. Its chairman, Roberto Calvi, was later found hanging beneath London's Blackfriars Bridge, initially ruled a suicide, but later deemed murder. Was the bank's downfall simply financial mismanagement, or the unraveling of a hidden alliance between politics, crime, and religion that has never been fully exposed? The Roberto Calvi murder in June 1982. Italian banker Roberto Calvi, known as God's banker for his ties to the Vatican, was found hanging beneath London's Blackfriars Bridge. His death came days after the collapse of Banco Ambrosiano, where billions had vanished through secret accounts and shadowy dealings. Initially ruled a suicide, later inquiries pointed to murder, with whispers of mafia involvement, Masonic lodges, and political corruption. Was Calvi silenced to protect powerful interests, or does his death remain an unsolved riddle at the crossroads of finance and faith? The P2 Masonic Lodge conspiracy in the 1970s and 1980s. Italy was shaken by revelations of a clandestine network known as Propaganda Due, or P2. This secret Masonic lodge counted among its members politicians, military officers, bankers, and intelligence officials, linked to financial scandals, coup plots, and the mysterious Banco Ambrosiano collapse. P2 appeared to operate as a shadow government. Its leader, Licio Gelli, remained an enigmatic figure. Was P2 merely a corrupt fraternity, or a hidden hand steering Italy's destiny from behind closed doors? The Aldo Moro kidnapping in March 1978. Italy's former Prime Minister Aldo Moro was kidnapped in Rome by the far-left Red Brigades. For 55 days, he was held in captivity while the nation debated whether to negotiate. Despite letters pleading for his life, the government refused concessions. Moro's body was later found in a car parked between the offices of rival political parties. Officially, the Red Brigades claimed responsibility, but questions linger. Was Moro's death solely their act, or did hidden forces allow fate to decide? The Bologna massacre cover-up on August 2, 1980. A bomb exploded inside Bologna's railway station, killing 85 people and injuring over 200. The deadliest attack in Italy's post-war history. Neo-fascist militants were eventually convicted, yet trails of evidence pointed toward intelligence agencies, foreign influence, and deliberate obstruction of justice. Missing files and false leads deepened suspicion of a broader conspiracy. Was the Bologna massacre simply an act of extremist terror, or the result of hidden strategies where truth was buried beneath layers of power and silence? The Operation Gladio conspiracy during the Cold War. NATO established secret, stay-behind networks across Europe, designed to resist a potential Soviet invasion. In Italy, this network was known as Operation Gladio. When exposed in the 1990s, revelations linked it not only to intelligence agencies but also to political manipulation, disinformation, and violent attacks blamed on extremists. Official inquiries confirmed its existence but left many details obscured. Was Gladio truly a defensive measure against communism, or a hidden hand shaping Europe's politics through fear and bloodshed? The Red Brigade's terror conspiracies in the 1970s and 1980s. Italy was gripped by violence from the Red Brigades, a militant left-wing group responsible for kidnappings, assassinations, and bombings. Their stated goal was to destabilize the state, yet evidence suggested infiltration by intelligence services and manipulation by foreign interests. The kidnapping and murder of Aldo Moro highlighted these murky connections, raising suspicions that the group's terror was not entirely its own. Were the Red Brigade's genuine revolutionaries, or pawns in a deeper game of hidden power? The Baader-Meinhof Group in 1970s Germany. The Baader-Meinhof Group, later known as the Red Army faction, waged a campaign of bombings, kidnappings, and assassinations against what they saw as capitalist and imperialist oppression. Their actions plunged West Germany into a period of fear known as the German Autumn. Yet suspicions grew that intelligence agencies manipulated events, with strange inconsistencies surrounding the group's prison deaths. Were the Baader-Meinhof militants solely radical revolutionaries, or were their fates entangled in a hidden struggle between state power and dissent? The Munich Olympic massacre in September 1972. The world watched in horror as Palestinian group Black September stormed the Olympic Village in Munich, taking Israeli athletes hostage. A botched rescue attempt left all 11 hostages dead, along with a German policeman and several attackers. Investigations revealed security lapses and raised suspicions of hidden political dealings. Later reports suggested secret negotiations and intelligence failures long concealed. Was Munich solely a tragedy of terrorism and miscalculation, or a turning point shaped by forces operating in the shadows? The Lockerbie bombing controversy in December 1988. Pan Am Flight 103 exploded over Lockerbie, Scotland, killing 270 people in one of history's deadliest airline attacks. Investigators traced the bombing to a suitcase bomb, leading to the conviction of Libyan intelligence officer Abdelbasset El-Megrahi. Yet doubts soon emerged, citing unreliable witnesses, questionable evidence, and possible political bargaining behind the verdict. Families of victims and experts continue to press for answers. Was Lockerbie the work of a lone state-sponsored plot, or does its truth remain obscured by international intrigue?